You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns.
Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on a journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Mik, a marketer, energy healer, and prepper.
And I'm Jenn, a former lawyer, yoga instructor, and lover of all things tarot.
There are a lot of opportunities these days to take part in ceremonial plant medicine. But how can we access these medicines in a safe and respectful way? Today, we're focusing on Ceremonial, Cacao and Hapé. Herbalist and ceremonialist Kira Buckley returns to the show to discuss and share her knowledge on these plants.
Before we get into that, if you haven't already, be sure to sign up for the mailing list. We have a newsletter, merch sales, and special news coming straight to you, and you don't want to miss out on that, especially if you're in the LA area. So click in the episode description so you can sign up right now.
All right. As always, we're going to start our episode with a little bit of breath work to help us get into a mindful place. I'll be taking over today. All right. So I want everybody to sit in a nice and comfortable position. We'll start with a few grounding breaths. In through your nose. Hold at the top. And exhale slowly. In through your nose. Hold at the top. And exhale again slowly. I want you to take both of your hands and place them right in the center of your chest on your heart chakra. And for the next few breaths, I want you to have your attention focused on this chakra. Just stay here in the energy of your heart chakra. Feel it pulse. Let's just check in with our heart. Ask yourself a few questions. How can you practice more self-compassion? Where are you holding back love? How can you be more accepting of others? Where are you missing connection? How can you spread more love? Let's just sit for a moment with those questions. Breathe nice and deep. Let's just come back into the space. Take a moment to jot down anything that comes up, any feelings, any people that you feel. And let's move on with the show.
Thanks, Meg. Thank you for taking over the breathwork today.
No problem. So today we are welcoming back Kira Buckley to the show. Kira has over 12 years of professional and clinical experience that's rooted in integrative medicine, clinical herbalism, sacred somatic movement, and healing on a cellular level. She specializes in herbal energetics, comedic fire breathing, intuitive readings, and in her words, orgasmic living. Mm-hmm. We're excited to have her back. She's been a mentor for me in my journey in shamanism, and we just love having conversations with her. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the conversation about ceremonial cacao and hapé.
Welcome back, Kira. So glad to have you back on the show.
Oh my gosh, it seems so long.
But it's been a while.
It has been a while. I'm happy to be here. I'm so proud of the both of you and inspired. It's a proud, inspiring moment to circle back in this space with the both of you. So thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So we have you on today because we wanted to really get into some ceremonial medicines. And we know you are a ceremonialist, and we have participated in a couple of ceremonies with you. Wanted to just give the folks that listen to us a introduction to Cacao and Hapé. So if you want to start, could you just talk about what cacao actually is?
Oh, cacao. In the simplest of terms, I would say chocolate. What we have come to understand in the origin of it, it is the original chocolate. It is heart medicine. When we refer to cacao, not cocoa, but cacao, switch that A and O around. The ceremonial piece in this is that it is of indigenous origins. This is from the actual cacao fruit itself that hangs on the tree. You open it up, it's white. And that white texture, slimy, sweet kind of texture, once you get to the middle of that, there's a chocolate seed in there. And in that seed is where we get our Americanized chocolate from, milk and dark chocolate. You get the nibs, you get your powder. All of that comes from the inside of that white seeded cacao. So I've come to really appreciate this medicine specifically as ceremonial and sacred plant medicine. Cacao is used to facilitate healing. It is an introspective plant medicine, and it really promotes connection to self and to others. And I would say the shaman circles, or in the indigenous point of origin, cacao is heart medicine. So every plant medicine has a specific point of origin for every plane of the body or chakra of the body. So cacao connects with the heart. It's heart opening, is expanding, is going to tell you about yourself and show you in the depths of your heart as well, in terms of how to facilitate healing for yourself and for others that pull on your heartstrings.
And just for the listeners, I think Kira gave a great explanation from like a spiritual standpoint, working with the heart chakra that comes from, working with cacao. It's even proven scientifically. There is a chemical in cacao called theobromine, and it is known to increase blood flow. And so you're really, on a scientific level and a spiritual level, experiencing that increased energy in your heart.
Definitely.
I love that you both really got into heart opener, like what that means. Because they talk, there's yoga poses that are heart openers as well. And when Mik and I were kind of going back and forth, it was like, yeah, cacao's a heart opener. And I was like, well, what does that mean exactly? I'm really glad that you got into that, because I'm like, yeah, open your heart. But like, what are we really trying to say here?
Yeah, if I can, I guess just maybe pinpoint a little bit of the place of origin of it, right? Because this is what connects us to that heart space, this ancient, what we call Mesoamerica, the Mayans or Aztecs. So cacao is of origin of that indigenous location. And you're talking about a people in general that are heart-centered. And a lot of it, same as Palo Santo, the trees that grow and that produce the palo are indigenous or of origin to that particular people or village. This is why plant medicine and like really honoring its context and point of origin and staying connected to the energy of it, why it's so important. So cacao is heart because it comes from the indigenous people that are heart-centered people.
So can you talk a little bit about if you're doing a ceremony with cacao, what would be a reason for you to kind of conduct that ceremony? Like what would it help people to achieve by experiencing that?
Yeah. Typically, I would say, thanks to good old social media, there are a lot of visuals in terms of pictures, gatherings, yoga studios, retreats. And in the space of serving cacao, you would partake in this kind of plant ceremony specifically as what we call devotion, right? Cacao is, of all of the plant medicines, we would say maybe more of the milder. It's the door opener. So it stands at the doorway and it opens the door. And when you move into like Hapé and frog medicine and Aya, Mother Aya, this is when you kick in the door down. Cacao actually allows you to gently, put your hand on the knob and open the door with more autonomy. So in experience, I would say I've seen practitioners and I've been in spaces with indigenous people that actually use cacao as a precursor to Mother Aya. You would take cacao as a precursor to Hape. And this is again to relax the nervous system because it is a nervine, and in that ability to decompress, to regulate the nervous system, to take you from fight or flight, to regulate the heart rate, to really bring you like into more embodying what it is that you're about to partake in, whether it is a retreat or savasana or a drum circle. Cacao is communal. And again, I use the word devotion because it opens the way for what is to come.
Yeah, definitely. So just to kind of help guide people, I know there are a lot of cacao products out there, a lot of spaces that people can participate in cacao ceremonies. Do you have any recommendations on products or spaces that people should look for when they're wanting to go down this path of working with cacao?
I get asked this question a lot. Particularly, I would say in the last 5 years, started sourcing my own cacao, specifically from its point of origin. So that's going to be my first suggestion. Any plant medicine that is traced back to indigenous people or lands, that you want to go to the context, you want to go to its point of origin. That is your best resource. And it's not just for the authenticity of it, but also you're thinking about the energetics of it. Who is preparing it? How is it being prepared? How is it being broken down? What is the packaging like? What does that look like in circulation or in travel from Peru or Costa Rica or Guatemala, coming into Whole Foods, into your native packages, right? So I am a bit biased. I would say that I'm not going to buy my cacao from a co-op or even an organic store. I would say especially if we are sourcing plant medicine and for any kind of spiritual expansion that is of indigenous origin, that you source from that context. And also because you're giving back, you're pouring into families, into generations, into ancestral medicine that really doesn't have any place of context or origin in the Americas. So that is honestly my one and only suggestion, is that you source from countries such, Central, South America, any connection to shamanic practitioners is also a good resource. Ideally, hopefully, they are connected to the authenticity of the medicine itself.
I appreciate that, Kira, because I have seen quote unquote ceremonial cacao in Whole Foods, like next to the tea bags. And I just didn't know. I was like, I don't feel like this might be,
Mm-hmm.
the legit stuff. Not if I
You're,
can get that, with the rest of my produce. I just feel like I need to get something a
It
little bit
just,
more.
right. It just shouldn't, it's just one of those things like this shouldn't be here. It's like seeing a sage bundle in Five and Below, or or in Target or Walmart. On one end, I appreciate the accessibility in making medicine in itself, energetic medicine, available to all. But I think there's a large piece of plant medicine that it's being forgotten. Is just take people back to the context of not just why we're doing this, but where does this come from? Because you pretty much, it's almost like it's null and void when you partake in the medicine, cacao, aya, or anything, if you're not connected to the point of origin. So you always want to source and go back to the context of who are the people that first orchestrated and curated, what energy was put into this medicine, and how is it going to affect me and the ceremonies and the retreats that I am curating today.
Yeah, and just a little anecdote. Mik and I were in retreat with Kira. This was 2021.
Oh, gosh.
And I know. And that first night, we did a cacao ceremony led by Kira and watched her prepare it. And it was very subtle because I guess I was like, what's plant medicine? It's going to knock me out. But it was very, very subtle. And there were some people that we had met before, but we didn't know very well, but felt a lot more open, a lot more relaxed. And by the end of the retreat, we're able to be very vulnerable with these other people and some of those people we still talk to. So
I love that. That is such a fond memory. I actually just had a flashback of me in the kitchen with my sarong on, probably the same one I have on now, or my robe, standing over the stove. But yes, cacao, best prepared, fresh. You may see it dried or kind of like in a block, look like a big chocolate block where you shave off pieces. You might see cacao nibs, the powder itself, which is able, to be blended with herbs, and this is what I was preparing on the stove in preparation for our ceremony at that retreat. Thanks for bringing that back.
All right, so let's transition a little bit. That's cacao. Let's move into hapé, which is ceremonial tobacco. And I have had the opportunity to have it administered from Kira. So can you just tell folks a little bit about the origins of hapé, what it is, and how you came to work with it?
Yes. So I have such a beautiful love affair with hapé. It's one of those plant medicines where you love it or you don't. It is not for everybody, similar to frog medicine and really some of the others. But rapé or hapé basically is shamanic snuff, and you take tobacco grounded, but it is also a mixture of herbs, and the mysticism of these herbs is really what expands the impact of this medicine, because every blend is not the same. There's not one blend that is the same. But this is sacred shamanic medicine. It's traditionally used in, same as cacao, indigenous tribes. You're going to find hapé specifically in the Amazon rainforest. We're looking at South America, Central America. And it's like you said, made from a combination of tobacco leaves. And again, those various medicinal plants, there's ashes and other herbal ingredients that come out of that rainforest. And so we're talking about indigenous tribes connected to Brazil, Peru, Colombia. And it is, again, talking about how plant medicines are connected to the body. So cacao is heart. I would say hapé is more of the upper region of your chakras. So this is third eye opening. This is crown and throat.
And can you talk about how it's actually administered?
Oh, yes. So there are a couple of gadgets that are included in this. I love things. I just love tools. So there's a pipe. It's called a caripe or a tepi. When you are self-administering, you would probably use a caripe. It's a smaller, kind of looks like I don't know, like a wishbone made out of wood. These are all handmade tools. A tepi would be a longer utensil that would be used between the administer and the one receiving. And so this is typically how it's administered through the pipe. The person administering the hapé is going to blow the powdered mixture into the nostrils one at a time of the recipient. It is often, and I would say only, done in a ritualistic and ceremony setting, right? So this is not necessarily the devotional cacao before yoga class. This is with intention of we are really coming in to do some work. We're going to sit with this medicine. It is a purge. It is a purgative. You know, when we talk about herbal blends, tobacco is a purgative. It's an opener. It's an eye opener. In this sense, a third eye opener. So this is why the ritualistic and ceremony setting is really important. And the intention is to bring in the physical, the mental, the spiritual healing, and also provide the space for grounding, focus, and clarity. Your whole body is involved in the acceptance of this medicine. You know, like it comes in like fire, and then it once it kind of disperses in your nostrils, then it disperses. It moves all over your body. And sometimes you'll see shamans tell you to stomp or use your fist to hit your seat or hit the ground. And that is to bring your awareness back into earth, that I'm here. I want to stay here, to keep yourself grounded. So much I can say about hapé, as you can probably tell. It's my jam right now.
What are some things that people have experienced after receiving hapé?
There's an immense amount of clarity that comes, and it comes instantaneous. Again, and this is from a very tangible physical, you know, you have a lot of congestion and your third eye is blocked and you kind of have some mind ruminating and you kind of have some throat issues going on. You're not speaking up. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. Hapé is going to kick the door down and it's going to bring you exactly to that place of clarity. I've also just really seen just a massive clearing of energetic blockages. Again, grounding is a word that keeps coming up. Centering, connecting specifically to the spiritual realm. So those that are seeking connection to the higher self. What is my higher self? What does that look like? How do I access that? Hapé is one of those tools that can be used as a gateway between you and hearing the highest expression of you. It's also an ancestral connection as well. So I've seen and I've witnessed people in session just within 15 minutes of taking it hear very clearly loved ones or their ancestral spirit guides that are with them. They can hear more clearly. They channel almost instantaneously as well. And just really deep meditation. I've also seen people sleep and, go into almost like a spiritual coma. So meditation, prayer is, I would say, a big witness and byproduct of experiencing hapé.
Dope. So let's say someone hears this and they're like, yo, I want to try hapé.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend? What advice would you give them for finding someone who is, a good administrator of this medicine?
I'm going back to point of origin. Indigenous medicine, plant medicine should be sourced from its point of origin. Again, staying connected to your circles, your communities of people that have shamanic connections, whether you identify as a shaman, a guru of whatever. It's really just knowing where the medicine itself is being prepared and how it's being curated. I have an awesome connection to a platform called The Four Winds, Alberto Villoldo. He's an amazing resource, and not just for shamanic or spiritual content, but also for devotional tools. So he would be my first point of origin in terms of sourcing the medicine itself, various blends, because there's a different blend with different intentions, right? All of your tools. And honestly, being able to stay connected to families and indigenous families that prepare this medicine is, I think, one of the best parts, because I'm making an investment into an ancestral lineage. So that's really important.
Kira, you've talked a lot about point of origin, respecting like indigenous cultures who have innovated, like this is the origin of these traditions and these ceremonies. And while that's a hugely important part of it, I feel like there's also there can be a trepidation
Yes.
of exploring some of these things because you don't want to culturally appropriate. Do you have any advice or insight around being able to be a part of these traditions without overstepping?
Yeah. I I would be remiss if I didn't just take note that I'm sitting in the space where I began this medicine right now. I'm currently in Costa Rica, specifically Uvita right now. Honestly, just miles away from a cacao ceremonial indigenous tribe, and also right up the street where you can go and source a shaman to take you across the water and partake in hapé. The severity and the importance in this comes back to reputation, really honoring the cultural origins, having reputable sources, being able to support a village, a tribe, an ancestral lineage with sustainable practices and fair trade, right? So all of these things come into play. The curiosity is, you're not at fault for being curious. It is okay to try. It is okay to want to be a part of and experience the metaphysics of this ancestral medicine. But it is just, and this is with anything, any kind of plant medicine, and the indigenous way of being is that it is always an energetic exchange. You don't want to take more than you're giving. And a lot of what I'm seeing and experiencing in our generation right now is that we're taking a lot more than we're giving. Even when, we go on our soft life vacations into South and Central America, and we experience this, have this out of body, connection to the medicine. And then we just want to get as much as we can and bring it back and bring it to our friends and put it in our yoga studios. And while the intention, is there, it's just the way that we go about doing things. And so my advice is to just, again, stay connected to an ancestral community so that you can, with more integrity, source your products and at least bring the yoga studio over, bring them back to the context of where you began this medicine. I think when you try to cut out its place of origin, this is where we start to really get kind of in murky grounds, because now you're practicing and kind of delving into medicine and really taking the sacred tradition out of it. The name of the game is to keep it sacred. And all you do, keep it sacred. If it's not yours, keep it sacred. Put it back.
All right. I think on that note, we can wrap things up. I think you ended that beautifully. So just so folks know where they can get in contact with you, can you let them know where they can find Kira?
KiraBuckley.com. I'm on the World Wide Web. I got to shout out Mik for that as well. But you can find me at KiraBuckley.com. That's my website. Any inquiries or even just consultations, questions about ceremonies, plant medicines, whether you're partaking from me or anyone else, and just how to prepare, how to set up, what you can expect, what tools are needed, what am I going to look like when I walk out of this, I'm happy to sit with you in consultation. You can find me again at Kira Buckley on social media platforms and KiraBuckley.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kira, for being back on the show. Enjoy Costa Rica.
Thank you. I shall. I got at least 2.5 more weeks here. Birthday's coming up, so I plan to really take advantage of the time. And I hope to see you two here very, very soon. in the near future.
Hopefully, that's the plan. All right, my fellow
Thank you
Gemini,
both.
we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks again to Kira Buckley for that amazing insight into Cacao and Hapé. Remember to sign up for the mailing list. There are so many goodies that we're working on, and those on the mailing list find out first.
And finally, guys, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.